Welcome to Trade You for the Fruit Punch, Season 1, Episode 2. Thank you for joining us. Apparently, 12% of pods end after one episode, so
We made it.
we made it to number 2. A few things from the first episode that I think we needed to highlight. The first one was I was listening to the Smartlist podcast, and they had a real Viore advertisement, like
Damn.
legit
If only.
minute
Viore
minute or
sponsor
two of
us.
copy. But their deal, for the record, was the same as ours. So from
Oh
that
shit.
standpoint, yes, we did okay. But clearly they had someone write their copy, and it was a little bit better than ours. We will have another advertisement midway through this podcast. Maybe not
Oh
midway.
lovely.
I thanked Ari. I thanked you at the end. And I'm not sure why, because you're not like a guest. You're kind of a
I'm
co-host.
kind of your co-host.
Yeah, and supposedly, depending on who you speak to, the talent on this podcast.
Definitely.
So I won't thank Ari. I don't know how to end this thing, so I'll end it awkwardly again this time, but it'll be a different kind of awkward.
That's
I
better.
also said something was a hot take, and then I said it wasn't, but then I said it was. I know what a hot take is, and I will use that appropriately next time. A few things.
Doubtful.
Today is October 6th, Thursday. Um, Ari is actually here in Philadelphia.
I'd
He's
like to point out
upstairs.
um this is definitely a different setting. This is actually my room. If you'll give me a moment, I just want to show you guys something. So,
Oh, you,
keep talking. I want to show them something. I'll be back.
there's nothing to talk about. I don't know what he's showing us. Um, I did not want to do this together in the same room. I wanted to make sure we were in separate rooms so we got used. Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to do this together. Like that was not going to happen. He's going to go back to his cave of a room and join us in just a second. This is not a huge house, so he will be back with us in about 5 seconds. Um, a random
I
thought
just wanted to
here.
show the people, like, I don't understand the logic here.
I
But
didn't want
he
to be
didn't want to
next to
record it
you.
together.
No, I did not on
He
purpose.
thinks I
I wanted my
smell. I
own
think that's
space.
the problem.
It could very well be. I wanted my own space. So I wanted, there was a random thought to start the podcast because I think it's important that we establish things. So my betting history
It's
is
very bad.
is poor. And
It's
so
atrocious.
it actually started with an article I read about Priest Holmes in 2001. He had just signed as a free agent for the Chiefs. This, predates Ari's existence on this planet.
Again, minus 2 years old,
Mine
just
is two
like
years
last
old.
week.
And I picked him in the first round of my fantasy draft, and everyone made fun of me. And I ended up holding on to him as my protected pick for the next 2 years. And by the third year, everyone was like, that was the best pick I've ever seen in my entire life. And so I don't know, like a hunch better, a nugget better. Like I read one little stupid thing and I'm like, that's the key. And so this year I read some stupid article about Carr and Adams in Las Vegas. And I was like, that's the one. That's my nugget. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Needless to say, I've not that is not going to prove out. Um, but but my NBA nugget today, my NBA most
Uh-oh.
improved player nugget,
Is a
that
nugget.
that's my I'm basing it off of a nugget. So I just want to be
All
very
right.
clear that that's what we did. So we're gonna start off the pod
Hang on, hang
with
on. You got to let
oh
me. I mean, I think that your Raiders bet was stupid from the beginning. So we've kind of had this talk a little bit, but I want to make it clear that there's two kinds of nugget sports bets, right? There's the this could maybe affect something, right? It's in the air, which is the running back from 2001. And according to what you've told me, your most improved is also a could maybe do something. And then there's the pick me nugget, which is what the Devontae Adams and Derek Carr nugget was. That's they were best friends. Like, you got to go with them because they know each other and they're amazing together and they love each other and all this stuff. Like, that is a clear trap bet. That's a pick me, and you never want that.
Okay. Well, so we're
You
gonna
want the
when I have
maybes,
my
not the
nuggets.
definites.
So when we talk about my nuggets, we'll have to obviously establish which one of those two it is. So
We
let's
will.
start the pod with one of our favorite topics, Tottenham Hotspur. They just played Stuttgart
Favorite.
a couple nights ago, and so what I won't do is I'm going to give you quotes from our friend Tony Conte,
Mickey,
Mickey Conte.
for those
I'm,
returning, you'll remember that's all I ever call him.
that's all he ever calls him. So I'm going to give you quotes. I think this is the way we're going to do this part of the show today. And I'm not going to try to do his accent, even though in my
You
head I
should.
do a perfect
I
Italian
think you
accent.
should.
I think out loud it would come out horrible, so I'm not going to do it. So comments before the Stuttgart game on the 3-5-2
By the
without
way, are you
Kulusevski.
aware that we didn't play Stuttgart?
Who do we play?
Frankfurt?
Frankfurt. It's all same. It's the
You're horrible at this.
we played Frankfurt. Really?
I'd like to
We should
apologize to our
actually
viewers.
we may have to re-record this. We're not going to edit anything. We are who we are. It's like I keep calling, what is it, Valencia and
Villarreal. Still Villarreal.
Villarreal. They're the same team. Those are not two teams. Same thing in Germany. There's like three teams. There's Dortmund, there's Bayern, and there's Bayern. And everybody else, well, I used to love Hamburger, but I think they got relegated a few years ago. So anyway, so I'm gonna change so I don't do this again. Frankfurt. Okay.
Oh
So
my
comments
god. You're
before the
horrible.
Frankfurt game on the 3-5-2 without Kulusevski. And I quote, Kulusevski is out, but with this type of player, this squad, we can play with these two systems, 3-4-2 or 3-5-2. Sorry,
I really
3-4-3
hope we're not
or
playing with the
3-5-2.
3-4-2.
Yeah. We also, Basuma is a player that is a good player who can play with these two midfielders. The two strikers could be Sonny and Kane or Richarlison and Kane. So what are your thoughts on that? And keep in mind, like his English sucks. It's better than it used to be, but his English sucks. That's not me not knowing how to read. That is just exactly quoting him word for
I don't know.
word
I think
because
it's
he's
kind of a
Italian.
combination.
No. Well, I think I know how to read. Anyhow, what are your thoughts on the 3-5-2 versus a 3-4-3 and how we approach games? And this is before the Frankfurt game.
At least you're getting the team right this time.
Thank you.
I mean, my thoughts are exactly the same as they were before and after the Arsenal game. Like, we don't have any control in our midfield at any point during any game. And that's because we're being overloaded, and the midfielders that we currently have aren't conducive to control the midfield. So I think extra body in there who's more suited to controlling the midfield is exactly what we need. I think I've seen that. I think even you've seen that, and I think you're a casual.
So I'm definitely a casual in your mind. I'm not an actual casual.
You're
I
definitely an
think
actual casual.
before the Frankfurt game, I trusted in Conte 100%, and that is starting to decrease.
Join the dark side.
I'm not going to join the dark side because I
Join the
remember
dark
when we
side.
hired
Hashtag
Nuno
Conte out.
Esperando Santos,
Esperito.
Esperito. I'm horrible with names, as you can tell. So anyhow, there was a Jed Spence quote also from Conte before the game, and essentially he said, essentially, and I quote, "The fans have to be fans. The fans is the fans. I understand they can think everything, but I see every day what happens during the training session. I try to do the best of the team."
You don't have the
Thoughts?
Doherty part in as well?
No, the Doherty part after also Doherty last season played every game. Now I'm not seeing him in the right way to start a game. That was about Doherty.
I think he also said something along the lines of, I'm not stupid, I don't want to lose. And people took that quote wildly out of context.
Well, I mean, they always take
It
quotes
was
out of
like
context.
Conte when asked about Doherty, "I'm not stupid. I don't want to lose."
Yeah, look, I can't quote everything he said. We'd be here for 20 minutes. We wouldn't get anywhere. So I tried to, take the important stuff and not, include everything he said. But
He said that the fans need to trust him. But he's given no reason to. Like, absolutely no reason for me to trust him
but
because
doesn't
he's
his
proved that he
history
can't be trusted.
but isn't his history good enough? He's won everywhere he's
No.
coached. Why can't we trust him? Even though he
So
said he
is
needs
Jose.
more.
So did Jose.
Well, Jose is cooked though, right?
What's to
Well,
stop
at
Conte
Roma
from
he's
being
doing
cooked
okay.
too?
He's not cooked. He's too smart to be cooked. I don't know.
That's what we said about
Did you know,
Jose.
by the way,
I
that
just like
Emerson in June of 2022, this past summer, Emerson escaped a gunfight where
I
29
did.
shots were fired? I didn't know that because I tried to find dirt on Emerson and like there's nothing. He's the most boring man on the face of this planet,
No,
except the
he's
fact that he was
like
shot at 29 times.
he is if he had any ability as a footballer, like he's exactly the kind of player at your club. The problem is he's literally the worst player of all time.
I can
The
think of a
absolute
few that are
worst.
worse. I can think
Nope.
of a few that are
I'm
worse, but
I'm sticking to that.
all right, you'll stick to it. So he started the same lineup as the London Derby, which we were all ecstatic about because we did so well in that game. And so there's a Paddy Power tweet. I don't know if you know what Paddy Power is. They're basically a betting
I
site
do. It's a
in
betting site.
right. Um, and so Paddy Power tweet after the game, a job well done for Antonio Conte as everyone leaves the stadium feeling completely miserable. And so I think they summed up the game pretty much in that tweet. What do you think?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm inclined to agree with them. I I don't understand what I'm watching. It's
Uh,
like there's nothing going for 90% of the game.
so in his defense, I didn't really see the game because I was driving you
We were
home from
driving. I was
Maryland.
watching the game. You were just listening.
I was just listening, and listening is different. Although the commentator was pretty clear about the fact that we had no shots on goal. Although when you go
No
back to
shots on
statistics,
target.
we did have 2 shots on target, but he thought that we had none. Now, there's a lot of quotes from Conte after the game. I'm not going to get into them. Essentially, he said we had a much better game than we did against Arsenal, and he likes
Which is
our.
true because we drew versus losing 3-1. Like objectively that's better, but it's just like every time I watch it, it's turgid, it's slow, it's boring.
Turgid's
You
a
know
good
how
word.
I know I like the word. I
It's a
knew
good
like
word.
I thought of it and I knew I wanted to use it on the pod.
Wow, good for you. So
Yeah.
people on the pod will realize Ari is smarter than me and his vocabulary is better than mine. But he's also 18 years old and doesn't know shit and barely knows how to wipe his ass. So, there's that.
It
Um,
is what it
so
is.
he did say, though, we needed to be more clinical. And obviously, when you score
Okay,
no
yeah.
goals, I think being more clinical is likely one of the things you need to improve on.
I
So,
think
one of the
creating
things,
chances is the thing that you also need to improve on.
so
And with
I have a few
Kulizevsky
thoughts.
out,
Right.
you need to find creativity from elsewhere. And the problem that we have in this squad is that we didn't add any creativity anywhere. Like we saw last year, our only creativity came essentially from Kulizevsky.
Correct.
And instead of adding a midfield creator like everyone thought we should, or I don't know, an attacking wing back on the right, to stagnate and stick with essentially the same team.
Well, we bought 7 players, we just don't play any of them. The problem I
They all
have,
suck.
you know who we should bring back is
Uh-oh.
Lo. I'm just kidding, I hate him.
Yeah,
He
because you
sucked.
love
I
Lacelso.
hated him. I hated him and
We should
Dombele.
bring back Ndombele.
Oh,
Ndombele
no.
had an assist the other day.
I don't care what he had, it's the French
I'm an
guy.
Ndombele believer. I always
Yeah,
have
no, I
been.
think he's shit and fat. You know what? He looks in uniform the same way James Harden looks in uniform, which is just, I
James
saw
Harden
James
looks
Harden.
skinny. He looked
No, he
skinny
doesn't.
last night.
I got to tell you, James Harden's body is not meant for a uniform where the shirt's tucked in. It's just not like, just like I don't look good in a suit,
Listen, he was
really.
back to dropping people last night. Like I'm convinced by skinny James Harden.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know. It just maybe he just doesn't look good in a tucked in shirt, but
maybe you just don't
so
like how James Harden looks.
yeah, I don't. His body's really not. Yeah. Anyhow, we'll talk about the Sixers later. We'll have plenty to talk about. So I have a few thoughts on Spurs. I think Sonny scored 3 in a game. All of a sudden, Sonny's back. He's not back. He just scored 3 against the shitty Leicester team. I think Kane's first touch has been horrible since he flirted with Man City. I don't know what happened, but his first touch is garbage.
He's also
And
been
I
attempting stupid flicks recently. Like the deli flicks that like we used to get mad at him for because he stopped being a skillful player and still tried to do the skills. Like that's what Harry Kane is currently attempting.
Yeah, and even his passing hasn't been great. Now I will tell
It's
you,
been
Man
horrible.
City, who they were pissed last year. They really wanted Kane. I bet
God, they
right
got the better end of
now
that deal.
they had they had a shit season where they still won the league, and then they got likely the best striker of all time. I mean
Erling
that
Haaland is going to score 78 goals this season.
he's amazing. That he is so fucking good. Like it is insane how good that guy is.
Do you want to tell the people how you pronounce it?
Holland?
No. How did you pronounce it with me in the car the other day?
I don't know how I pronounce it.
Haaland.
Halland, because I'm
Haaland.
American from the East Coast. I'm from Philadelphia. It's
Speaking
water.
of Americans, watching Antonio Conte's football tactics is what Americans think watching all soccer is.
Okay.
I want to point that out where they're like
No, they've gotten smarter about
nothing
things. No.
happens the entire game and it's super boring and it's 90 plus minutes of just like sitting there and hoping for a single goal. Like that's what Antonio Conte's Tottenham team is.
So I will tell you. So I was watching the Wrexham documentary on Hulu, and episode 9 or 10, um, the guy from Sunny, it's always sunny in Philadelphia, Rob McElhaney. He shows up at his pub in Philly. He invites all his friends to come to a game. Now, first of all, they're watching Wrexham. I don't know what he thought he was going to get out of that, but they watched a nil-nil game, and he was so embarrassed by the fact that they couldn't score. And that's essentially the way Conte's, tactics are right now. But that's okay. Hopefully, this weekend against Brighton, things will change.
We are
And
getting
well,
thumped.
here's the deal: the Emerson won't play. He can't play. He's not allowed to play.
I'm not
You're
convinced
not convinced he won't play?
Antonio just strictly through muscle memory isn't gonna like submit a team with him in it.
And then what do they
The
do? What do you
Premier
think they
League is
do?
gonna like the Premier League's gonna
They'll
email
make us
him
play with
back
10.
and be like,
No, they'll
"Hey,
make us play. They should make
you
us play with
can't
10
play
if he
that
does that.
guy. You
Yeah,
only
I
have
think they
10
should.
men."
I think we're going to play a 3-5-2. I think we're going to play Basuma, Hoybier, and Bentancur in the midfield as sort of the three. And I think it's going to be Perisic
And
and
Sessegnon.
and Sessegnon. I do, because
Yeah.
Sessegnon just
Perisic is gonna play on the right.
yeah, Sessegnon bombing on the left is just changes the game and adds something to our team, makes it fun to watch. And then I think it'll be Son and Kane. He's going to sit Richarlison. I really
I
do.
still think he's gonna fucking play a 3-4-3. I genuinely believe the man is too stubborn to be reasoned with. I think
I
he
don't.
knows a 3-5-2 is the better option, but he wants to prove his point, and he's going to wait until we win 3-4 games with the 3-4-3, and he's going to go, see, if I had gone to the 3-5-2, maybe we wouldn't have won these games.
What is that accent, by the way? Like, it's
I
not
don't even
really an
know.
accent, but it's like,
We're going to pretend it
yeah,
didn't happen.
okay. I can't gloss over that. Um, so before we move on to our next topic, Tottenham, and not so much trade you for the fruit punch, is sponsored by Cinch.
Oh boy.
Cars without the faff.
Oh boy.
Buy a car online. Join the nation cinching it. Buy, finance, and part exchange with delivery in as little as 72 hours. Why cinch? Great value, high quality cars, cars to buy or finance, free delivery options. The nation is cinching it. In fairness, though, the nation they're talking about is not the US, it's the UK. And they only have like 9,000 cars for that whole country. But we have Carvana, we have Vroom, we have Car Gurus, we have CarMax. So check out their websites for more information. As a non-sponsor
Again,
of
not sponsored.
Trade You for the Fruit Punch.
Not sponsored at all.
Not at all sponsored. So that was our one advertisement for the day. So let's go to the Eagles. Now, the game's been over for 3 or 4 days. We are 4-0. I think this is the only team that brings you joy. They do nothing for me. I mean, it's so early in the
You're such a
season.
curmudgeon.
I'm not, but the problem is like,
What do you mean I'm not?
well, yeah, I am, but you're really the curmudgeon. All the names we came up with before this one were basically like Old Man and the Grinch because you're the Grinch, not me when we talk about sports. And so
If everyone who's watching this right now could just start referring to me as the Grinch, it would make me genuinely so happy.
it really would. I just, I think one of the stats that to me highlights how you can't really look at 3 or 4 games in a season and judge how the rest of the season is going to go is the Jaguars were first in rushing D and had given up 155 yards in 3 games, right? That's 52 yards a game. They gave up, what is it, 112 yards in the first half, I believe, and they gave up 200 and I have it somewhere, but I can't find it right now. Um,
Wow, too
I
many
think they
pages
gave
of
up
notes.
20 pages of notes and I can't find it. Well, you're supposed to 210 yards. There we go. Uh,
Command F, Abba. Command F.
well, but you know what? I got my notes here. Um, and they gave up 210 yards in the game against us. So I just think that highlights that 3 games into a season, you can't really judge teams, especially
I
teams
actually think
that
you're
are
wrong.
surprises.
I think you're wrong. I think it's less you can't judge Jacksonville as being the best run D and like that was a fluke stat. I actually think it's just the Eagles are really fucking good. Like the Eagles are going to defy a lot of stats like that this year, and especially considering the fact that it was a weird game with weird weather and like there was just a lot going on.
Yeah, but Jacksonville was 2-1 with the best run defense in the league, and you never really thought Jacksonville was a good team, did you?
Yes, I did.
No,
I
you
think we
didn't.
had this conversation already where
You
I
thought so, but
believe
I
that
didn't
they're
think so.
actually a decent.
Although,
Yeah, because again, you don't watch the NFL anymore.
no,
Like
but I know enough to know that
this is the
Jacksonville
thing
was
that
like
we've
1-16 last year. Maybe they won two,
Urban
but like,
Meyer tax.
oh,
Huge
okay,
Urban Meyer
huge Urban Meyer
tax.
tax, like 7 games Urban Meyer tax.
Like more than 7 games Urban Meyer tax.
So I will say, I think the Eagles' offense has cornered the market on like that offensive pass interference, illegal blocking, an eligible receiver, an eligible man down the field. Like
We're
we've
really good
cornered
at
the
that.
market on that. That's like our jam. I don't know what it is, but we cannot get over that penalty, and we get like 2 a game.
Yeah,
So
pretty
another
much. I
stat,
mean,
we were 3 of 5 on fourth down, but we were only 4 of 15 on third down. Not a good third down game, generally speaking, but a decent fourth down game.
I like I mean, I love a good fourth down. It's why I love
Well, you
my
hate
Lions.
punters.
I
Yeah,
despise kicking, period.
you do despise kicking, even though your father was a high school field goal kicker.
Again, Guy the foot.
Love foot, thank you very much.
The foot
La
translates
foot,
directly.
la
Translates
foot, thank you.
directly to the
Well,
foot.
but it was a nickname, so there's no translation. It is what it is. I
I'm
was called the
translating.
foot.
I don't speak French.
All right, you're a putz. Let's move
No,
on.
I'm an asshole.
That too.
Um, yeah, I mean, I love fourth downs. I love like you have 4 downs for a reason.
Yeah,
Go
I
for it.
think there's a time. I think there's a time and a place for fourth down. I think
I
in
think that
the
time is
modern
every time.
NFL, that has increased significantly. No question about that. I think it makes for more interesting games. Um, but every once in a while, punt the ball. Although
Nope.
I hate our punter, and I think we need to change him. But that's just my take on it. I'm not a fan of his. Um,
So I
so
just like I have kind of one thing that I want to really say about this team, and that's our O line is special. Like truly, we got two big injuries in this game. I think first to Jordan Mailata, and then I want to say Isaac Sayamalo. Um, and we kind of just plug those gaps with backups, and we're totally fine. Like we genuinely, we have I think, the best O line in the entire league. And I think that's largely down to we have the best O line coach probably ever.
okay, I don't think you know enough about the last 55 years of the NFL to say that it's the best O line ever.
I think Jason
So let's
Kelsey
just
does, and I think he said it too.
yeah, well, he does know
And
quite
he's
a bit about
definitely
football.
biased, but
He's definitely biased and he knows a little bit about football, but like
but he's also
back
an
in
O
the day
lineman.
when the Giants used to kill us on the run, back in the day when the Redskins had, I mean,
And the
John
reason
Riggins, like it,
But the
come on.
reason why I think we have the best O line in the league is because I think Miles Sanders is a distinctly average running back. He's not bad. He's perfectly fine, but with a bad O line, that guy looks horrible because there's
So I
nothing
disagree. I think
stand
Miles
out
Sanders
about
is
him.
actually I think he's a decent and a good running back. I don't think he's the best in the league, but I don't think he's in the middle either. I think he's in the top third, maybe the bottom part of the top third, but I do think he's in the top third.
I think
Um,
if we got like a true number one running back, Miles Sanders got what, 150 ish yards rushing in that game?
I don't
I
have that
think
stat.
I think with a truly elite running back, he gets 300.
No, but you
And like
don't get 300 yards in a
I'm
normal game.
exaggerating obviously, but like I genuinely think with the rain and the amount of touches that we gave our running back in that game, an elite running back gets at least 200 plus. And that listen, I'm
I
not
don't think
taking
you realize
anything
how
away
hard
from
it is to
Miles
get
Sanders'
200
game.
plus, regardless of rain or wind or sleet or whatever it is. 200 yards on the ground is really difficult. It
I
does
get
not
it. I
happen
get
very
it.
often.
But like
150 doesn't happen that often.
these elite running backs, like sometimes do it. And I don't think Miles Sanders ever touches that number.
Let's see how it goes the rest of the season. I will say, I commend Sirianni for wearing a visor in a torrential downpour and committing to the look.
Again with
I
the
do
visor.
again with the visor, but that's amazing. It's how do you do? It's
You can't
fucking
let it go.
pouring. It was. I look. There was a flood of epic proportions the last 7 days. So, I was
God,
amazed
it
by it.
has not stopped raining. It's been fucking painful.
No, today it did. Finally, we were able to
Finally.
get a walk in and everything. So we're gonna switch topics. We're gonna switch sports. We're gonna go
We are?
to.
Are we
We
done?
are. Yeah, we're done with
I
the Eagles.
hang
Oh,
on,
you have
hang on.
more?
I got two things to say.
All right, I'll let
Unrelated
you
to the
say. You're the
Eagles.
talent.
Damn right I am.
Yeah.
Unrelated to the Eagles. The Jets, the Jets, because of course I'm talking about the Jets for some unknown reason. They ran a Philly special for Zach Wilson's first touchdown of the season. He caught a pass in the end zone instead of throwing one, and I just thought that was worth mentioning because it's we're Philly fans. And second of all, my Detroit Lions have the best offense in the NFL through 4 games. Like literally.
Okay.
See, you're like balking at me, but I've been saying for weeks, since before the season started actually, that the Lions were going to be at least somewhat decent, competitive. And they've been nothing if not competitive.
Yeah, I think everyone's jumping on that Hard Knocks bandwagon. They love watching the show, and then they decide that the team's going to be halfway decent.
And
I
guess
think
what? They were right.
that's fine. They'll be competitive.
They have
Um,
the best offense in the NFL through 4 weeks.
they
Like,
still have Jared
there is a
Goff.
stat.
You do
And
remember that,
Jared
right?
Goff is leading the best
You
offense
do
in the
remember
NFL.
Jared Goff. Jared Goff was actually a decent quarterback for LA, had decent stats, and they still traded him for obviously for
You struggling with
Matthew
the name?
Stafford. I was
There you
struggling for a
go.
second. Yeah, no, I mean, look, we're not live, but we're recording, and so you've got to think of the names on the fly. And Matthew Stafford,
I
even
get
though he
it.
does 65 different commercials, like the name didn't just pop into my head. But you do realize the Rams traded like for Stafford, they traded Goff and like an ungodly number of picks as well. Like it wasn't just a straight swap. And
I
Stafford
know.
is what, like 7 years older than him and is going to retire in like 3 years. Like this
Yeah,
was
but guess
not,
what?
they
Like,
clearly did not like
they're
him.
still in a rebuild phase. Like, that's the thing. They have the best offense in the NFL right now, and they're very obviously a young rebuilding team. Like, they'll get another quarterback.
We'll see. I think if they keep winning, they don't have such a great draft pick. They
Well,
won't
they're
get
one
that
and
young.
three. They haven't been winning. They've just,
Well,
like I've been saying, they're going to compete in every game. They can lose by 3 to any team in this league.
well
Week 1, they lost to us. Week 4, they lost to the Seahawks.
oof. And
That
that is
game was
not a good
so
team.
much fun. It was like
I don't even.
45-48.
How do you even watch that? It's not even on in Philadelphia. How do you watch that game?
It's
Don't even
called
answer that
streaming.
question. I don't want you to answer that question. Let's move on. I think it's time to move on to a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts,
Eagles
which is the
Cardinals.
NBA. Which is the NBA.
Eagles Cardinals. I
It's
just want
not
to
Eagles
say,
Cardinals.
is there a return game every week? Zach Ertz's return game is this week.
Right. Yeah, no, every week we're going to get a. Who do we play the following week?
I don't know. We're looking ahead to Eagles Cardinals right now.
I'm looking at the schedule right now. So we've got Eagles, Cardinals, and then we've got Eagles. It looks like Cowboys. Yeah, it looks like we're home to the
There's got
Cowboys
to be someone there.
on Sunday, October 16th,
We'll
and
figure it out.
we'll figure there's an offensive lineman of some sort, I'm
Exactly.
sure.
Like some
That's
guy that won the Super Bowl with us and like has been playing for the Cowboys ever since, but like we talk about return game every time.
right. So we'll figure it out. Um, that will be the last episode, I think, right after that game that we will be recording while I am still here in the country before I go to see 4 Tottenham
Before you
games.
ditch me,
Before I ditch you. Yeah. Before
you're
we
gonna
ditch
ditch
you.
your new college student
Yeah.
for
It's
what, six
horrible.
weeks?
No, 3 weeks. What are you talking about? Three
Oh,
weeks.
light work.
Light work. Come on.
What am
three
I gonna do
weeks.
without my taxi cab?
I don't know, because that's what I am to you. That's what I've always been to
You're
you,
also
though.
hey, my Instacart delivery service.
Instacart delivery, taxi, brisket maker. Like there's a few other
Well,
things.
that's when I'm here.
Yeah.
Talking when I'm at school.
Okay. Fair enough.
Who's
Yeah.
gonna bring me labne?
Who's gonna beat you in pig in your dorm room?
Listen, I'm getting better.
No, you're not.
I'm getting better.
You're shit.
So are
You're not.
you.
No,
You're
well,
boring. You're
I am boring, but
incredibly
I win.
boring.
I win. It's all about
I'm gonna
winning. I'm
impose
the
a rule
Conte
that the
of
shots
pig.
have to be from 6+ feet back.
No, there's no rule in pig. You can do
No,
whatever you want.
I'm my room, my rules.
Then I don't play. It's very simple. All
Yes,
right,
you
let's
do.
move on, please. Can we just move on? Can we
You
just
don't want
like?
to talk about the Eagles more?
No, I don't.
I love my Eagles.
I know you do. They're the only team that
They're the
brings you
only team
joy.
that bring me joy.
I know. I've heard it many times. All right, so we're gonna go to NBA season predictions. We're
Do
going to
you want to
do.
start with that or with 6 or 2 preseason games? Because I
Uh,
think I can talk about that pretty quickly, whereas I think we'll spend more time on the.
so yeah, talk about the fact that James Harden looks bad in the uniform and he looks fat, but otherwise, what did you see? What did you see in those preseason games? I happen to not watch them. I actually watched like 10 minutes of the Brooklyn Miami game that's on tonight.
It's
And then
on
I
behind
watched
you,
that
isn't it?
it is on behind me. And then I watched that G League game between the top
Oh, the
two projected
Wembenyama
picks.
Scoot Henderson game?
Yeah. and I
They're
have some
both
takes
pretty
on that.
damn good.
No, Wembanyama is not good.
You
No,
just hate long, skinny guys. I
I
think that's what we've learned.
I think he's going to get bullied, and I don't think he's going to be able to. He's not putting up 37 points. Now, in
A Chet
fairness,
Holmgren, Wembanyama
oh, they're the
backcourt.
same guy. Although I think
One is 7'4".
Wembanyama scores threes a little bit better than Chet does. No, they're the same guy though. He's going to get bullied. You know what? He'd get bullied by PJ Tucker. He'd get bullied by fat Kyle Lowry because that guy is fucking fat. He makes James Harden look like a model, is how fat that guy is. I was watching 10 minutes of that game, by the way. This fucker, you know how like they like to try to block the shot when there's a foul? Well, he tried to block his own player's shot and he barely touched the net. Not even the rim. Like you can touch the net. He barely touched the net, that fat fuck. I bet you he couldn't even dunk. Now he's from Philly, so he's probably gonna come to my house and kick my ass like one of
Fuck
these
that
days when
guy.
he's around.
No, fuck
But
that guy.
but he is so fucking fat, it's unbelievable.
Hang on.
And didn't he say he
I
was
want to
getting in
point
shape
something
this
out right
summer?
now. Something out right now. He's
What?
not from Philly. He's from Jersey. Like, not
Yeah,
actually, but I want to make it really clear. That fucking asshole, we don't claim him.
that's fair.
New
I don't like
Jersey
when people from
native.
Jersey say they're from Philly either.
No, he's
So,
actually from Philly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm kicking him out of Philly.
oh, I thought he was from Philly. Why you, man? You
Yeah,
made me look
no,
like a butt. He's from Philly.
I'm telling you, I hate him. I think he's an asshole. Played this whole Philly native card in every other sport. And then it came time to come to the Sixers, and he was like, fuck y'all. So fuck him. He's from.
Okay, fair enough. I couldn't give a shit, but anyhow, so I watched 3 minutes of that game. Henderson looks like the real deal though. That kid looks amazing.
So does. Wembanyama scored 37 points.
I don't care. I didn't
You
even
just
watch.
don't like his body.
I don't like his body. I don't. He scored 37 points against a G League team, and his French
So did
team.
Scoot Henderson.
No, but anyhow, and his team were essentially, not that I saw it a lot because it was on in the background. I was so bored by this game, but I'm assuming all his team did was feed him the ball and say, "Here, do your thing," because you've got to showcase your skills to a bunch of guys like Chris Paul who are watching you, from courtside, because Chris Paul was there. And he's cooked, by the way, so cooked. It's unbelievable how cooked he
True,
is.
but we're gonna move on.
We're going to move on. So, NBA season predictions. Oh, no, we
I
were talking
thought
about
Sixers.
Sixers preseason. Go
All
for
right,
it.
Maxi's the real deal. Like Maxi, I thought Maxi was outstanding last year. He might actually take another huge leap this year. He looked incredible in both of the halves that he played in the last two preseason games. And obviously it's preseason and you don't believe in preseason at all. You don't even watch it. I think it shows you a little bit of what the season might hold, but not really that much. I use it kind of to look at some players more than I do the team as a whole. And Tyrese Maxey looked outstanding.
Okay. And I thought you had a
Um,
second point. Weren't you going to say something else?
Montrezl Harrell might be a dog.
Of course he's always been a dog.
I know, but I mean he might actually be a good player too. And I thought he was shit last year.
So
But also,
Montrez,
it looked like Doc was going to B-ball Paul as the backup more. He got the first minutes off the bench in the last game.
I don't think you can tell anything by preseason.
Probably not. And especially with Doc, who hates young people,
well, Doc's going to play 7 guys the whole season. That's going to be his MO.
Doc's
He's
going to
got the
play
deepest team he's ever
13
had.
guys the whole season.
I don't think so. I think Doc is going to
Doc
revert
plays
back
all
to
bench lineups all the time.
Yeah,
That's why I
don't
hate
know.
Doc.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 12 guys that could actually play, but he's really going to rely on 6 or 7 guys and not give anybody else a chance. I think that's what he's going to do this season. No, but in the playoffs, I get it. But regular season, he should actually rely more on other.
In the postseason, he relies on all of the guys that he relies on in the regular. He can't make decisions. He's the exact opposite of Tony Khan.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like though he relies on the same guys even when they're not doing well. Although in the Atlanta series a couple years ago, he did put Shake in for a game and Shake played well and he left him in there. So every once in a while he surprises me, but generally speaking, he's got his guys
He also
and that's who
played
he's
Dwight
playing.
for like
Because
way
by the
fucking
way,
too long.
and this is previewing our NBA awards, like I think Tobias Harris should come off the bench. And I think if he came off the bench, he'd win sixth man of the year. But he's not going to.
I actually disagree.
Okay.
I think like even if you play him mostly with the bench unit, just as like a sign of good faith, you start him and then earliest guy.
Well, obviously you can't not start a $38 million a year guy. Like that
I
would
mean,
just be heresy.
the
But he
Mavs
should.
aren't starting Christian Wood to start the season. He's making like 20 plus, I think.
There's
20
a
maybe?
whole lot of difference between 20 plus and like
Obviously,
close to
but
40, right? Like that is a guy, he's a max guy who should be one of the top 40, 50, 60 players in the league who is not even anywhere near that. He's the fourth best player on your team. Period.
Maxi might be top 25 though. So
I'm not so sure.
good.
He's real good, but he's got to
I might
show.
start some nasty agendas this year.
Oh boy, that's something to look forward to for everybody listening.
Maxi's better
For the
than
one
LaMelo.
person
Book
listening.
it. Hey, we got like
I,
70 views on our YouTube video.
oh, nice! Wow, look at that. We're doing pretty well. So, can we get to our season predictions? Because like we keep on punting on this, but
One
we've got to
small
be
thing.
fairly quick.
One small
Yes.
thing.
What?
In the Sixers Nets, Ben Simmons missed 2 free throws in a row, got booed at the Barclays Center, which was probably by Sixers fans who made the trip. It was by Nets fans already who are turning on him because that suits my agenda better. And then he
Okay.
also shot a fadeaway jumper, the thing that matters because he did that like twice in his entire Sixers tenure, and I'm not worried about him shooting, but it was the worst miss I've ever seen.
Uh,
It wasn't
yeah.
even close. So now we're gonna set that to the side and we're gonna do our 10-1 NBA predictions
Yes.
to start.
So
And then we will do awards.
let's do on the East. Let's start with the East. And let's get into and let's just talk about a few of the teams, highlight a few things. We don't need to talk about every team. But what I'd like from you is the play-in losers. Let's start with those and we'll share them. And then we'll go 5 to 8. You'll give me your 5 to 8. I'll talk about my 5 to 8. Then we'll go into 1 to 4 and then we'll talk about the conference finals and then who's going to the finals from the East. So who are your play-in
Okay.
losers?
Just for those who didn't watch last week or need a refresher, I just want to point out the fact that you do have the Raptors outside of your top 10.
I do.
So if you think they're missing, that was a conscious effort on your part because you have an agenda.
Because I fucking hate
And the
Toronto and
same
the Raptors.
on the Blazers, the same on the
Correct.
other side.
Yes,
I
I
just
have
wanted to
agendas
point
against
that out.
both those teams. Correct. Yes, thank you.
All right. Now, so we're doing what? Play-in losers, you said? Shouldn't we
Play
just
in
do this
losers,
in
so the
order of
9
the
and 10.
standings?
Fine, order the standings, 9 and 10.
So at 10, I've got the Knicks, who I actually have moved up since my original standings. You refused to move things around. I was
Nope.
very like, you convinced me about the Hornets. I had the Hornets there, and then I thought better of it because I realized like they lost an important piece in Miles Bridges. Fucking asshole, like piece of shit human being, but that's besides the point.
I looked him up because I had forgotten the story, and it showed
It's
Miles
bad.
Bridges as like not being there, and then he still had the Hornets background, and I'm like, what? Did he just not get re-signed? And then I started digging a little bit, and I'm like, oof, yeah, now I
Yeah,
get it.
it's really bad.
It's not good.
But yeah, so I moved them down. So the Knicks are my 10. I don't think they're amazing. I think Jalen Brunson is being overhated right now. He's worth the contract they gave him, but like he was good on the Mavs last year as their secondary ball handler. And I think with too much responsibility, he's not going to look as good. But I don't think he's a bad player. I just think they kind of overpaid him. Never thought RJ Barrett's that amazing, but it kind of is what it is with him.
Well, so who's your
He'll
9?
score some points. 9 is the Bulls, who I
So that's an
actually
interesting
think
take.
are still very good. Very good as a stretch. But like Lonzo's out, struggled big time without him. And then DeMar had a really good season last year, and I'm not sure he'll be able to fully replicate it. I think he'll still
He
be really
can't.
good, but I don't think he can fully replicate what he did last year.
So
So I've got them as
I've
9.
heard, a an interview with DeMar, and he sounds like he worked on his game during the offseason, and who knows, maybe he can replicate it. But last season, I mean, he was being talked about as an MVP. So I don't think he replicates it. I don't have the Bulls as my play-in losers or the 9 and 10. My 9 I have as the Knicks. My 10 I have as the Pistons, and that's a little bit of my sleeper. I think the Pistons could maybe string 2 wins together and be the 8 seed then in the playoffs. But I think they'll
That
finish with.
feels strong for them. I
It
think it's a
feels
year
super
too
aggressive.
early.
It might be, but
I think next
every
year
once in a
the
while, a team just they blossom a little bit earlier than you think they might, and I think
that's
The
fair.
Pistons are that team.
I think
So who are your
Detroit
5?
is in a really good sports place right now. Just as a little aside, like
Yeah, but it's
you've
Detroit.
got
So like, it's
I mean, but you've got a rebuilding Detroit Lions team and you've got a fun rebuilding Detroit Pistons team. Like I'd actually love that.
yeah,
I
but it's
love a
Detroit.
rebuilding team.
That's fine, but it's Detroit.
Okay.
Like it's
Yeah.
Detroit. Nobody wants to be there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Detroit. Look, what I've said all along about England is there's London and then a bunch of Detroits. And
Yeah.
that's not, I don't mean that in a
I
nice way. I
don't mean
mean
that
that in
as a
the worst
positive.
possible way ever. Like literally, it's London and Manchester, Detroit, and Liverpool, Detroit, and Newcastle, Detroit, and
Hey, don't forget.
Portsmouth, Detroit.
No,
Portsmouth is too small.
it's Cleveland.
Cleveland is Portsmouth. You don't even know anything about Cleveland or Portsmouth for that matter.
I know I saw a funny little like meme song about Cleveland where essentially the end of it was everything is horrible, but at least we're
Exactly.
and
That's
it stuck with
exactly
me.
it.
So Cleveland, in my mind, what'll always be is Detroit's the worst place in America, and Cleveland is second.
Man, this is a
If you're watching from Detroit or Cleveland,
we
feel free
yeah,
to argue with us because it actually gives us interactions, and that makes the video do better.
exactly. So just write some questions or make some comments at the YouTube
Just
channel.
we actually love that.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It doesn't bother me. I've been called an asshole my whole life. A fat
I call
fucking
myself an
asshole.
asshole most of the time, so
Well, you are
you
one,
can't
so
do it.
that's
Like
okay.
you can't hurt me.
All right, so we've got to keep this on track,
All right.
because
So
we'll
8 and
never get to
7.
our predictions.
Who you
So
got?
who do I have from 5 to 8?
8 and 7. I want like your winning play-ins
Okay,
essentially.
so I have the Bulls at 8. We talked about them. I think they're a decent team. I just don't think they'll replicate what they did last season.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 7. I have the Heat, and I think they're fucking cooked.
I like that pick.
I
You know I
fucking
like
hate.
that pick. I hate the
Jimmy's getting
Heat.
older. I think age is going to catch up to him. I think Bam is not getting any better. I just watched him shoot 2 free
Bam
throws
is
and miss them
center
both.
Ben Simmons.
He
Not
basically
aggressive
is.
enough, not a good enough shooter. Like I want to shoot more shots every fucking offseason and every season it's like, oops, didn't do it.
And then you've got Fat Kyle Lowry, who is cooked. I mean,
Who's
if
so
anybody was ever
cooked.
cooked,
So
Oh my, he
incredibly
was,
cooked.
and he said he got in shape. If that's getting in
No one's
shape,
ever been more
then
cooked than
I
Kyle
don't
Lowry is
know
right now.
I don't know how he defines getting in shape because he looks the same as he did in the playoffs last year.
Oh
And then you've
boy.
got Tyler Hero, who's fine, but like, could he
He
really
just got
be
a
any better
big
than he was last
extension.
year?
I
Yeah,
don't
that's
think so.
fine. And then you've got what Jimmy Neutron, like he didn't play and he's not very good, and I just don't like that team. I like Spoelstra, and I think Spoelstra makes them better, but I don't think they're anything special, and I think they're a 7 seed. So who do you have
I
as your
do
7 and
not
8?
dislike that pick. So at 8, I have the Hawks,
Okay.
who I like. Like's a strong word. I hate a lot of their players, but as a whole, I think Trey is really fucking good. And I'll always respect Trey for talking shit right before going into Madison Square Garden. Like that's a baller. Then you've
Trey's a
got
talker, and I like him.
like DeJounte Murray's he can ball handle, which allows Trey to be off ball more, which I think is possibly gonna unlock him a little bit more. I mean, I think John Collins is shit. The rest of the NBA community seems pretty high on him, but like I think he's dog shit. Um,
Yeah, you've
and
never
I've
liked him.
always
I kind of
I've
like him.
always liked Clint Capella actually, like
So
just as
Clint is is
the
is
perfect
hot or
pick
cold.
and roll big man.
Yeah, and he was with Harden. He was great, and he was with Trey in the
And he
fucking
was with
Philadelphia
Trey two
series.
years ago.
Right,
Last
and in
year
the
was
Philadelphia series, and
kind of a
last year
down year,
I think
but
they had a down
2 years
year.
amazing.
So my 5 and 6 are the Sixers at 5 and the Hawks at 6, and I like Murray. I think Murray's going to make the Hawks better. The Sixers, I think there's going to be something off about the regular season. I part of me, I don't want to be a homer. I think we made some really good off-season moves. I think if Harden shows up, we could be the 2 seed. But I'm going to pick us at 5, but I'm also going to pick us in the conference finals because I think we
So
can beat
you're
the 4 seed and
kind
the
of
1
the
seed.
opposite of me. Kind of the opposite of me. We'll get to that a little bit in like a few minutes. But so at 6, I have the Nets,
Okay.
who I be in constant turmoil. I think KD rests a lot of games. I think Kyrie ends up having some disciplinary issue, which is just from out of nowhere. But I'm calling it right now. I'm putting my neck on the line. Kyrie will miss another half of a season. Um, and then it's
Well,
gonna
another
be
strand of COVID's going to hit, and then he's going to be banned from playing at home, and banned from playing in
yeah.
Canada, and banned from playing in like 13 states, and so he'll
And
end up
I'm
playing
so
like
excited
you
for
know
it.
23 games because he'll only be allowed to play 23 games, and he still won't wear a
I hope
mask
he
when he's
also
traveling
I
to games.
hope he also gets it and it's really bad for him.
So I don't wish ill on anybody
I wish
publicly,
super ill on that
but just
entire
know that
team.
privately, I may or may not have agreed with you or agree with you. But publicly, I say, God, I hope nobody ever gets COVID and nobody ever dies. And
And
I hope we're done with it.
Ben's gonna have to lead the team.
Ben, Ben,
I don't even
come on.
listen. I'm not even gonna. You and I, we're
Over
both gonna
under on
move
how
on.
many
Hang on.
shots he shoots a game. Are you shushing me? Fuck
As the
you. Don't
leader
shush
on
me.
that, what
Don't
I'm
shush
saying
me.
is, I
Don't
think we
shush
should
me.
just move
Don't
on.
shush
Ben
me.
Simmons leading that team is all I need to say.
Don't
Also,
shush me.
I hope he gets hit by a bus. Let's move on.
I hope so
So
too. So
my five
yeah.
is the Celtics, who I
Okay.
think were as good as they were last year because of Eam's defensive scheme. And I think they struggle without him. And I'm not going to talk about whether he should or should not have been suspended. Every piece of news that comes out about him, it sounds worse and worse. Like initially, I was like, it was a consensual work relationship where nothing went wrong. Like that's harsh for a year suspension, but luckily I didn't tweet anything about it because that would have looked real bad with all the news that's come out since.
Matt Barnes.
Yeah, that video was funny though,
Oh
where he
boy.
was like, "I have to apologize. Prayers to everyone involved." That's what really scared me.
Well, when people say prayers to everybody like that, it's bad. Like, when
It's
Tua
a
got
bad look.
concussed for a second straight week, even though officially it was the first week,
I mean, he could
prayers to
literally
Tua
die.
and
He
well,
literally
he
could have
was
died.
like his hands were like clenched and there was clearly like a brain
It was a back
malfunction
issue.
going
Don't worry
on.
about it. It was a back
It was
issue.
a back and ankle issue.
They're
Well done, NFL. Way to
so
change the
stupid.
rules mid-season because they did change the rules actually. They've changed everything up. But anyway, so my you went into 5, you went into 6. My 3 because we're doing 3 and
You keep
4.
skipping. Start
I
with
think
4.
Oh, you want me to start with 4? I think
I
the
don't know why you
Celtics are
keep starting
4.
with the higher one.
I like the higher one. My Celtics are 4. Again, I
My
think the coaching
Celtics.
change. No, your Celtics. Well, the
My
Celtics are 4.
Celtics.
Yeah, our Celtics. I fucking hate the Celtics.
Our
They're a
Celtics.
4. I think the coaching change is going to mess with them. And I don't think they're all that good. I think Jason Tatum's a little bit better.
I
Well,
think
I think he's a
defensively
lot
they're really.
better during the regular season than he is in the playoffs. But I mean, he's not an MVP candidate to me. He is not a top 10 player. And I've been saying that for 2 years. I think he's great,
I think he's
but he's
good.
not top 10 great. I'm not a
I think
fan.
he's
So
borderline.
I don't think so. So he and the Celtics are my 4. And my 3, and I've noticed you haven't mentioned them either yet. My 3
Hang
are the
on. I think I should put
Cavaliers.
my. Yeah. Yeah.
My 3 are the
I love
Cavaliers.
my Cavs.
I think Spider Mitchell with Kevin Love. I'm just kidding, not Kevin Love because he's not even going to
He's
start.
a good sixth
But
man.
I mean Garland, Mobley, Karis LeVert
Oh,
off the
they're
bench.
a good
Like
fucking team.
I think they're going to be a
They're
legit
a good
team, and I
fucking
think they're going to
team.
gel together really, really well, even to start the season. I think there's something to those guys and their games playing together where they're just going to hit the ground running, and I think they could be, 3, if not even higher, if certain things go really well for them. I think they'll still lose they'll have a few games where you're like, huh, you guys lost to the Kings? Like, what happened? But it'll be
But
like
every team
a
has
West
that.
Coast trip. Yeah, every team does that. And they'll do it probably a little more than we'd like. But I do think that they'll end up as the 3 and the surprise of the East because I think everyone's picking them to be the 6 right now. According to Vegas, they're the 6.
I saw someone go so far as to put them at 1, which I think is a little far because that's a lot of games to put together. But I really like this Cavs team. Like, I think if you had to ask me, like, what's the team you're most excited to watch this year, just from a neutral standpoint, like, I'd be tempted to put them down as that team. They're they're one of them, and then the other one's on the West, and we'll get to them later.
Okay.
But I really like this Cavs team. I
You'll
really
get
like
into
this
it.
Cavs
So
team.
who's your 4?
So at 4, I've got the Heat. Um,
Okay.
Mostly just from the circumstances surrounding this league of like I think the Nets turmoil and the Celtics turmoil is going to help them, but I still think they're going to be kind of shit. Like I don't think they're good at all, which we already touched on.
Right.
And then at 3, I also have the Cavs. I
Okay.
think we're looking at them as a more complete and maybe even better version of last year's Grizzlies team. Where like to most people they come out of nowhere, but in actuality, if you've been paying attention, like they've been building towards this.
And off the bench, they have your favorite player of all time,
Don't say it.
Raul
Don't
Neto.
say it. I
He's your
hate
favorite.
Raul fucking Neto.
Every time he
I
played for the
fucking
Sixers, he was garbage,
despise
but he
Raul
destroyed
Neto.
us a few times as a Wizard. So
And you
Raul
know what?
Neto,
I think we had 2 backup guards, if you'll remember. And Brett Brown played them both about an equal amount. It was Raul Neto, and it was my guy, dog mentality Trey Burke.
Trey
And
Burke's
we
garbage.
cut Trey Burke, which I always thought was the wrong move. And Trey Burke actually had some good games for the fucking Mavs. I like Trey Burke. I'm always rooting for Trey Burke. That's my
That's fine.
guy. My
That
dog.
we should get you a Trey Burke jersey. You can wear it at Maryland. I'm sure they'd love it there. All right, so now
Sure.
we're down to two teams. And very simply, my two teams left are the Nets and the Bucks. I think the Nets
This
are going to
is
be the
the
two
Nets
seed.
are so high.
Then I think it's good during the regular season. They'll beat a lot of teams. Um,
I
you know,
don't think
look,
KD or Kyrie play that much. And then
and I
it's
think
just
that's
Ben.
probably to their
And
benefit.
Ben's
Well,
fucking dog shit. Is it to their
yeah.
benefit when Ben is the player leading the team at that point?
Well, then the lane opens up. They actually the way they play is more conducive to Ben anyway, because
Sure,
they're
but it's still
what is
Ben.
it? Claxton is their five. Like he's not really a back to the basket kind of five.
But
He'll
it's
hang
Ben
out in
Simmons.
3 point land, right? And then he'll crash the boards, and Ben will have the lane to go into. So I think Ben will actually be decent.
I think Ben will have 3 Utah Jazz 42 point S games. And I think for the most part, he'll look just as bad as he usually does, other than those
I got to
games.
tell you, we've been picking, or the Vegas line has been picking the Nets for like 2 or 3 years now. And at some point, they've got to get it right. Now, the Nets are the third favorite in the East, but at some point, they've got to get it right. And I just think this year they're going to put it together. I don't love them. I hope they
I
fucking
can't agree.
look. I hope they finish 10th. I don't fucking like them at all, but I actually think that they're going to do pretty well this year. And I think
If ever there
they're
was a time for a basketball player on a team to literally just like drop dead in the middle of a game, I would hope it would be a Nets player.
so that's
Supposedly, either their second or third best player.
so not KD, but you're
KD,
talking
listen,
Kyrie and
I
Simmons.
hate KD. I hate KD. I want to make that clear. I don't hate KD to the point of death, but I hate Ben and Kyrie to the point of death. I want to make
Fair enough.
that abundantly clear.
That's very horrible in a lot of different ways
That's my
and
job.
morbid. But okay, and then I've got the Bucks at the one. They're
They're
so
just
boring.
obvious. They're
They're
so boring.
obvious, and
Giannis
the
has no
addition
bag.
of I mean, what do we talk about? Giannis's little coin purse of a bag. Um, Jingles as a buck, you gotta love that.
I love
Come on.
that. I can't. I
I mean,
mean,
Jingles
I
is
love
like,
Jingles.
come on, that guy. What is he like? 6'8", 6'9", shoots the three,
He's just a fucking
does
fat European white dude.
does the little things, but
Actually, isn't
not
he
really. Doesn't do
Australian?
anything.
He's
Like it's
so.
Jingles.
I love
I,
him.
come on, who doesn't love Jingles? And they got him. Um, so now out of the East, who's in your conference final?
So I need to give my 2-1.
Yeah, you do.
At 1, I also have the Bucks. I'm not gonna bother talking about them. I literally don't give a shit. Um, and at 2, the only team left in the East, I do have the Sixers. Now this is gonna sound like a homer pick, but to those of you who know me, you know I don't do that. To me, my Sixers, because they are still my team, as much as I hate most of them, my Sixers are going to be a good regular season team. And my Sixers, as always, are going to utterly capitulate in the playoffs. And I am predicting a second round exit for them.
Which is where they've exited the last 4 years, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Although no, in the bubble we exited, I think in the first round, didn't we?
Yeah, we got swept by the Celtics.
Yeah, that was horrible.
That was horrible.
So I have the Nets and the Sixers making the conference finals.
You have us making the conference finals?
I do. I think Doc is playing for his job,
I think he gets
even though he's
fired
not
because we
playing,
do
he's
so
coaching.
badly.
And I think Doc, this team, there's something about this team. It's deep. It's got a little dog in it where we didn't last year. And I'm hoping a guy like Matisse has gotten a little bit better in the
He's shit.
offseason.
He gets traded.
I think he might get traded, but that'll give us a piece that will help us. But even if he
Probably
doesn't
not.
get traded, I hope he improved his shot a little bit. Like I've heard he's been in the gym and actually working on his shot, not like Ben in the
You want to know
gym
what Matisse is right
shooting
now?
against like, middle-aged, fat guys
I was
where
going
he's
to say
shooting corner
Matisse
threes.
being better is Ben. It's exactly the same. Because I watched him in preseason last night and he looked just as dog shit as always. He
Yeah,
took some
that's
shots where I
I
was
don't
like,
and he
any
was like
decent
our
NBA
darling.
player.
He was the darling of like the Sixers 2 years ago, and in the bubble, like
Well, so
everybody loved him.
we watched the rights to Ricky Sanchez on the way home from College Park, right?
Right.
And they were talking about it, and I wanted to say that we got this from them because I want to give credit where it's due. Um, and Mike was basically saying Matisse did everything wrong. Where like you had basically the entire Spike and Mike were both saying Matisse had the entire fan base behind him and then essentially did nothing for 2 years and lost them because you can't like being high on a prospect means seeing their weaknesses but believing they can overcome them. And just like Ben before him, Matisse proved that he just couldn't overcome his weaknesses, his deficiencies.
So I don't think he's had a full off season. Ben had plenty of full off seasons. I don't think Matisse had a full off season since he's been a pro. And I think that's affected him really negatively. And I think having this summer, we'll see. I'm going to give him 10 games to see what he looks like because I
I'm
really want to
not.
see did he work on the. That's fine. Well, you
You
write
just
people off very
he's your
quickly.
favorite Sixer for no fucking reason.
I love him. He's
I
he's my
hate him.
favorite. And I think
Anti-vax piece of shit.
well, but he got one vaccine and then I'm not sure why he didn't get the second. Makes no
Because he's
sense. Like
stupid. Because
he
he's
might
real
he might
stupid.
not be very smart. Um
But anyway, I just like, yeah, sure, this team has dogs supposedly, but like, it's just like, to me, it's just like every other Sixers team we've ever seen, where like they're gonna look good in the regular season, and then we're gonna get to the playoffs, and three of our main regular season contributors are gonna drop off a cliff, and you're gonna be stuck. And Doc is still gonna play them because he's like, well, they were good in the regular season. Like Montrez is going to be unplayable in the playoffs, and I mean that in the basketball negative sense, not in the football/soccer positive sense, where it's like, oh my god, he was amazing, he was unplayable. No, like literally, he can't get minutes. He's so bad. But I think Doc will continue to play him anyway. I
I will say
just don't like this team in the playoff time ever.
uh,
I never trust
yeah,
them.
I don't they haven't proven us wrong, but I just have a feeling that Harden, for whatever reason, is just going to be better.
I really hope so.
And
I think
at
those
some point,
three
he's got to
guys will be
prove
amazing.
everybody wrong about the playoffs, right? Because everybody says like Harden is a great regular season player, and then in the playoffs he shirks all responsibility and takes four shots in like game six of a second round playoff series or whatever the number was, but it was way too low for James Harden. And I think he's finally going to realize like if he wants a legacy in this league, he's got to show up during one playoff series, and I just feel like it's going to be this year because he's getting older.
I don't disagree. I think him, Joel, and Maxi will be great. Um,
Now, who's
I
your one
think
and two, or who's your conference? For you gave us your one and two. Who's your conference final then?
so. I'm going Cavs Bucks.
Cavs
I
Bucks
think
is
the
interesting.
young team. I think the Bucks are boring. I'm not even going to spend time on them. I think the Cavs are gonna like. I think they're only going to improve as the season goes on. I think they're gonna figure it out like fully by the what's it called? The conference finals by the playoff time.
So what I would tell you is I've seen this story before. And I've seen this story with young teams, really, really young teams making the playoffs. And in the first year they make the playoffs, they essentially lose in like the first, maybe second round. The second year, they lose in the second roundish. And then it's like the third or fourth year they finally break through. Even the Bulls were like this a little, right? Back
I
in
think
the
they're going to be
Jordan
the
days.
Thunder, though, where the Thunder, like, with their young big three, made it really
Yeah, no,
early
I
and
think it's going
then
to be
struggled to get back, maybe.
I think they'll lose in the second round, but I think they'll build on that. And I think next year they'll go to the conference finals. And the year after that, as long as things stay kind of the same, then they'll make it to the finals in 2 or 3 years.
Well,
I
for
think
your
they're too
numbers to
young.
work, they kind of have to lose in the second round because otherwise the Sixers don't make the.
No, no, my numbers
Oh,
are Sixers would play
yeah,
the Celtics in the first round and then beat the Bucks in the second round, which
your
I think is
numbers are
doable.
different than mine. Mine
Yeah, my
is
numbers are different.
they'd have to beat the Cavs in the second round, and I
Right,
just
because
think
you
they
have
lose
them as
that
a two
matchup.
and you have the Cavs as a
Yeah,
three. So that right. So now let's move to the West. So uh, I think so you said Cavs and who's going to the finals?
Cavs.
Yeah, that's not
Book
happening. And
it.
I
Book
book
it.
it. Okay. Should I bet on that? And I have the Heat. I have
Yes.
the
Hang
sorry.
on.
I have
Yes. Bet on them.
no, thank you.
No, no, no. This is a
I have the
nugget
Nets
bet.
going to the
This
finals.
is a small nugget bet.
No, it's not a good bet. No. I'm not doing it. I won't do it. I won't
I
do
will
it.
pay you to make this bet.
I won't waste $20 on this bet
Fine. You're
because
betting for me.
that's the
No,
difference
you're making
between
this
me
bet for
making
me, which means that I make any loss is incurred by me and any profit goes straight to me. I think
yeah, you
if
are a big loss in and unto yourself. Like I'm looking at you on the screen
hey
right now. I'm
Abba, hey
circling
Abba,
you right now, and
Abba,
you have been right now a net negative to my balance sheet and profit and loss statement.
that's all fine and good, but I
Right?
just want to ask you something.
Yeah.
When we, the two of us, when we usually bet on the Premier League, who usually wins those bets?
So up
Do
until the
tell.
last 2 or 3 years, I won all the bets. You were the worst better of all time.
2 or 3 years, wasn't it? 4 years ago that I won that Wolves bet?
No, I don't think so. And I think
It might
four
have been
years
three,
ago,
actually.
you also, um, the World Cup bet was a pretty bad one for you. Like you didn't
I
really
was
do very well.
new. I was
Yeah,
new.
that was 4 years ago. And can we move on because we are well over time as
And
usual.
we got way more shit to talk about too.
We do.
So
So I
yeah,
think
we gotta get a move
we're
on.
gonna end
We're
it
gonna
at the team predictions, and we'll
Oh,
record a
that's
different
boring.
podcast for the player predictions. No, we're gonna have to
No,
do it.
I think if we have time,
We don't have time.
we can go to an hour 30.
No, we're never going to get through player predictions in 10
Whatever.
minutes. This is going
Alright,
to take us
fine.
15 minutes. My goodness. All right. 9 and 10 on the West. Who are your 9 and 10?
10, I got the Lakers. I just if they make the Russell Westbrook to the Pacers trade for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, that might move them up for me actually. But as it is right now, I've got Lakers at 10 and Blazers at 9. I just think they're incredibly mediocre.
For the record, I had Blazers at 11.
Yes.
Um, I have the Rockets at 10 for
Which you regret.
no I regret that. I don't know why they have not gotten any better since last year. I don't understand why I have them at 10 even.
They
But
have
you
through
know
the
what?
draft, but
Yeah, I don't like them. My huge, huge hot take is the Timberwolves at 9. Now they may make the playoffs, right? Because they may win two
you're not going to
play-in
like my
games.
predictions.
I have a sense that I don't like I don't like your predictions anyhow. But the two big men thing doesn't work, and Rudy Gobert is ass, the worst
Regular
NBA
season, he's a good player
center.
though.
He's not.
Listen, we'll get to it when I put
I
them where I have
but
them.
I tell you,
But
I love Anthony Edwards, but this team is not going to make it into the playoffs, or at least I should say, is not going to make it into the top 6, and then they're going to have to fight their way into the playoffs. No question about it in my mind. I think They just don't
We'll
have a
see.
balanced team at
All
all.
right. So 8-7. Now this is essentially my 8 through 1 is one big hot take. So let's start with your 8-7.
My 8-7, my 8 are the Pelicans. I look,
Safe.
Zion and CJ are good. Uh
Brandon
but
Ingram.
I don't think yeah, I mean, but I don't Zion's probably not going to be fit enough, healthy enough,
I'm
right?
assuming health.
I'm not.
For
You
the
can't assume
Pelicans, I'm
health with him.
assuming health.
I don't think you can. So
I
I
think
just I don't trust
he
them.
had a healthy season 2 years ago. I'm assuming health for him. I'm
Didn't
assuming he takes a. I think he
he
goes
missed the
year
first
on,
50
year
games
off.
of the season 2 years ago.
2 years ago, he had his breakout year.
Oh, so it was 3 years ago. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think he plays enough. I don't think he's healthy enough. He won't play
we'll
enough
see.
games. So 8 are
We'll get to it.
Pelicans. I've got 7 as the Lakers.
You're
They've
very
got a
high
little
on
bit of
them.
edge with Beverly, with Patrick Beverly. Um, and
I
he
love
has,
the
according to
move.
himself, he has never missed the playoffs. Although I believe it came out that he missed the playoffs one
He was
time on a
injured
team he
that
was
year.
on, but he was injured,
He was
so he
injured
didn't
that
count
year.
it. So it's very
Listen, I stand with Pat Bev. I
yeah
don't count it
okay.
either.
So he's never
Fuck
missed the
that noise.
playoffs, and I don't think he's going to miss the playoffs this year. But I do think Anthony Davis is cooked. I don't think he's going to
I
be
think he
half the
plays
player he was.
37 games.
He may even play 70 games. He's just not the guy he was 4 years ago. Not the guy the Lakers traded for.
I would
I
agree.
just
Fuck
I don't think
AD.
fuck AD.
Fuck AD.
Okay, fuck AD. Go for it. So who are your 8-7?
8? Shit. 8, I've got the Grizzlies.
Wow.
I still like the Grizz. I want to make it clear. I believe everything I'm saying. I kind of hate saying it though, because I truly believe all 8 of my top 8 are good teams that will be good teams in the regular season at least. I've got some opinions on playoff time, but I think they'll all be really good teams in the regular season. And it pains me to put the Grizzlies this low because I actually really like Ja and I really like them. I just don't see a second player that I can point to and go, that's your second option. When Ja's out of the game, like they're good because they've got that guy to carry them in those games.
So this is where I agree with you, and I am so disappointed in myself in how I picked them, where I have them, because I just don't think they're going to finish where I put them. But again, I wasn't going to change. Like I could have.
Yeah.
I've had 2 weeks to think about it,
So
but
I didn't change my top. I actually didn't change my top 10 in either one of the conferences except for the
you changed
Knicks.
the orders.
No, I did not. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. Other than moving the Knicks in on the East, that is the only change I made to my top 10. It's the bottom teams I moved a little bit.
And the bottom
Um,
teams don't matter.
don't matter.
So
So at 7, I've got, again, I don't like this, but at 7, I've got the Mavs. I think Luca is, at this point, probably a top 5 player, maybe even top 3.
could you
I just,
imagine if he was in better shape and didn't smoke? Like he'd be
I don't
amazing.
think it matters. I really
No,
don't think
I
it
think it
matters.
matters.
We've seen healthy Luca. I just think, like, it's
No,
like Jokic. Like, I think if Jokic were skinny, he'd suck.
he would suck. Yeah, no, I agree, because he's able to like shield players away from the ball and away from
So I
everything
think Luca's a
based on
similar guy
his.
where, like, Luca's got to be a little bit pudgy. It's like, do you remember when Harry Kane looked really slim? And we were like, Slim Kane's going to be a problem. And then he kind of sucked. And then he got a little pudgy. And we were like, Pudgy Kane is actually better.
No, but this year he's slim and like strong, and he's been better than he was at the
Shit.
beginning of last seseason.
Harry
He's
Kane's been
shit, but he's
shit
been
this year.
better. He was better than the beginning of last season.
I
I
mean,
think that
he
goes
was the
without
worst
saying.
player. He was terrible at the beginning of last season. I was gonna
He
say
was
worst
bad.
player I've ever seen, but then I remembered Emerson was also playing at the time. So yeah, I like the Christian Wood pickup, but again, like as far as second stars go, I think he's one of the worst second stars among the top 8 in that division. And I really still like the pickup. And I think they might be better come playoffs because I think Luka gets more time on the court and just dominates.
So I'm looking at my notes on the Mavericks, and I also hate my Mavericks pick because the team is essentially Luca, Christian Wood, and like 3 guys from the G League. And I don't know why I have them as high as I do, but you know what? I committed to a number and I stuck with that number.
I
And
did
that
too.
number, because now we're on 6 and 5. So my 6 seed is the Nuggets. I don't like them. I don't think they're any
It's an
good.
agenda pick.
It's an agenda pick. Um, I think in the playoffs they'll do decently. I think Murray, playoff bubble Murray, will be amazing outside of the bubble.
Well, it's not the bubble
I think
anymore, so we'll see.
I know, but I think he needs a season to get back into things, and then by the playoffs, he will be running on all cylinders. He'll be great, and Jokic will feed. I think they'll be good in the playoffs. I just think in the regular season, they're just not good enough. Like Aaron Gordon isn't good enough.
Aaron Gordon is
Um,
your fourth guy's pretty good though.
I don't. Yeah, but like
Because
that's a
he's
guy
just
that you.
he's a great scheme defender. Like he is
Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. Like I just
Mega Porter
everything about
Jr.
this team, Maga Porter Jr. Everything about this team screams to me bad regular season, but likely decent playoffs.
I can
And
respect that.
my 5 seed, I mean, I mentioned them earlier. My 5 seed is the Mavericks. Um,
I
and
don't think
I
we need to
again,
touch on this too much. We're
no,
already at an hour and 20 minutes.
right,
So if we've already if you agree with something I say in terms of standings, just say report back to that. Go watch that again
fair,
if you want to hear my thoughts.
okay, fair enough.
Um, so it's 6. And again, this is kind of hot. Every take I have in this Western Conference feels very hot to me. I've got the Clippers at 6.
Okay,
Now, I think in the playoffs they will be one of, if not the best team to deal with. I just think they're going to load manage. Kawhi was out for an entire year. Paul George was basically out for an entire year. And Kawhi's always been a load management guy. And they've always finished around this 6 seed. And I think people are putting them at 2, thinking that Kawhi and Paul George are going to be back and play every game together. And I think Kawhi's going to sit one in every 3 probably games and just they'll be good. They'll be really good in the games he plays, and they'll be pretty decent at times in the games he doesn't play. But come playoffs, they'll be amazing. And then at 5, I've got the Warriors for similar logic of I think after winning the championship, I think they hold back in the regular season, hoping to do a similar thing in the playoffs. I think they are just they're getting everyone on that team is getting older, except for Jordan Poole, who got in an altercation with Draymond Green, which is pretty funny. But I'm gonna wait for more details to come out on that to talk about it more. Um,
so give
but
me your 3 and 4.
so at 4, I've got the Suns. Same logic. I think Chris Paul's really old, and they're going to try to protect him as much as possible in the regular season. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays half the games.
I think they need to manage him. No question about it. I think they need to manage him
So,
because
and I
he
think they'll
looked
suffer in the regular
tired.
season for it.
Yeah, look, they're my 4 as well. I think CP3 looked really tired in the playoffs this past year. And I think if Monty Williams is smart, which I'm not so sure anymore, because how do you not talk to one of your
DeAndre
players
Ayton.
that you basically had an argument
Yeah,
with
it's rough.
in front of the world to see, and you haven't spoken to him from that time which was in May until the beginning of training
until
camp.
media day. Like that's kind of absurd.
Like that's
Um,
yeah,
it's
that's not how you
worrying.
run an
I would be
organization.
worried.
I am
And
worried.
then
I think
so
they're my
you give
4
me
as well.
your three.
My 3 is the Grizzlies, and like I said, I hate my point. I hate my pick.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in myself.
All right. So go back to what I said to hear my dad's thoughts on it as well. So at three, I've got the Pels. I love my young teams. This is when I said I had another young team I was really excited to watch. This was my other one. Brandon Ingram looks homeless now with his huge hair, and we've seen there's actually very solid connection between looking homeless and playing better in the NBA. So you can look this up afterwards,
Okay.
but there is a connection there. So I think Brandon Ingram's going to be on demon time. I think healthy Zion in his first ever season playing fully, he scored 27 points on 62% shooting, which are just absurd numbers. Um, so I think he's going to be really fucking good. And then I think CJ McCollum is a really good third guy. I think he's a shit second guy, and I think he's a really good third guy. And oh, by the way, they also have Jonas Valanciunas, who's like a really solid big man. I think this Pels
Yeah.
team's
I
really
mean,
good.
kind of in the mold of like the old big men, not necessarily the new style of big men, but I think he's a decent player too. I don't mind him. They're
Well,
still
he
my
needs
8th seed.
because Zion is like a more old school power forward of being just like really athletic and being in the paint. So I think
That's
having
fair.
that stretch big man is really important for them.
That is fair. Um, so my 2 is the Warriors, and my 1 is the Clippers. And we've talked about
Okay.
them. I think the Warriors will figure it out in the regular season. I'll go as far as saying I think the Warriors and Clippers are going to play in the conference finals. And I'll go as far as saying that the Warriors are going to make it to the NBA finals against the Nets. I
Okay.
just think the Warriors understand how to win
I
regular
agree.
season, playoffs. Draymond just knows how to win. He needs to stay on the court. He needs to shut the fuck up a little bit because
He
it's
needs
just
to not punch
annoying.
his teammates.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Like, but
I
he
don't
talks
mind
too
that.
fucking much. Like on the so, but this is I've heard this said like it's hard work for Draymond what he does, and it's not. It's inherent in what he does. Like it's his being, it's his life, it's everything about him is argumentative. So for him to go out on a court and argue and just create controversy and you know just the shithousery, like
I
it's
love it.
normal for him. I don't
I
think
love that
it's
guy. I
hard for him
can't
to do
lie.
that, right?
No,
Like
I
I don't
think
think
it's
it's
super
hard at
easy.
all. Um,
He's just like me for
I think
real.
playoff Clay will be way better this year than playoff Clay
I don't.
last
I think
year.
Clay might be cooked.
He
And it
might be.
hurts me to say because I really like Clay.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be better than he was last year. I really do. I don't think he was ready to come back. He wasn't in shape, but
I
look,
agree.
he still lit
Still
it up
won a
at
fucking
times,
NBA
and they still
championship.
won a championship. And he's still able to, put 4 fingers up. Where how many fingers can we put up? Fucking 0 as the Sixers. And I think the Clippers, like a healthy Kawhi with a healthy George, with a healthy John Wall, and
I
they've
don't
got
think
decent.
John Wall's decent, but I don't think he's going to be as much like he's not that John Wall anymore.
I know, but he's got fresh legs though, right? He hasn't played in 2 years, so he's got fresh legs,
He
and you've
supposedly had
got.
fresh legs when he went to Houston
No,
too,
I
and like
know,
he
but
was kind
Houston
of
was really shit. Here, he needs to be the third, fourth best guy on the floor at times. Like that's perfect for him right now. And you've got a
maybe.
guy, I love Terrence Mann, and that's like your third string point guard. He'll get some time, but that's your third string point guard now. So I like that team. I think they're good, and I think they will make it to the conference finals. Like I said, though, I think the Warriors will make it to the NBA finals, and I think they will beat KD and the Nets in the finals. That's my prediction.
Okay. You're going storyline driven.
I am.
I'm so at two, I've got the Nuggets. I think the opposite of you. I think they're going to click really quickly, even despite the injuries. And I think they're going to figure it out really quickly and finish as that 2 spot. And I worry about them too because I think they'll be good in the playoffs. But I don't think they'll make it to the conference final even. Like, they worry me, but not enough to worry me over the 2 teams I have in the finals, which I'll get to right after I say my number 1, which the eagle-eared among you may have noticed. I've missed out on one team. His 9 seed.
Yep.
I have the Minnesota Timberwolves as the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Now, this is bold, and I get that. But my thinking on the Minnesota Timberwolves, we might have to edit that out.
Yeah, we don't
My
know how to
thinking
do
on the
that.
Minnesota Timberwolves is they are built for the regular season. D'Angelo Russell, who I think is a shit player, but looks good at times in the regular season. And Rudy Gobert, the same thing. Player, but in the regular season looks amazing defensively. And if there was ever a big man who was capable of playing a 2-man big duo in the modern NBA, it would be Cat. I basically think he's a power forward anyway. Like, I feel like this is a pretty easy switch. I think that they will click really easily in the regular season. And with that being said, I think they lose to the 8-seeded Grizzlies in the
There you
first
go.
round.
Right. Exactly. I think that's
But
exactly
I
what's
think
going to
that they're
happen.
a really good regular season team. But I think
See,
that
I don't even
they
think they make it into
immediately
the playoffs, but
I think they get gentlemen swept by the Grizzlies. Like, it's not even a close 7-game series.
fair enough.
Um,
And so, who do you have in the conference finals? Because we are
so
running on an hour and a half plus.
my conference finals the same as yours. It's Warriors Clippers. Again,
Okay.
Nuggets worry me, but I don't think they're better. Those 2 teams come playoff time. And then I have the Clippers getting to the finals against my Cleveland Cavaliers.
So you have the Clippers
And you
winning it
know
all because
what?
there's no way the
No,
Cavaliers win this.
I have the Cavs winning it all.
You have the Cavs winning it
I have the
all.
Cavs winning it all.
I can hear you screaming from down here,
Good.
and it doesn't make you any smarter. You're still a fucking idiot and a moron.
Cavs are winning it all.
Yeah, I'm
Book
not betting on
it.
that. Book it. Wow. You'll be the only person in the country that has that, except for those homers in Cleveland who are betting on it right
I
now.
don't even think they're going to say it.
They're not. So we're at the stage in the program where we've certainly exceeded our time limit. And we thank you for sticking around if you've listened to an hour and a half of this.
See, now
I
you're
think people would,
thanking the viewer instead of me, which is a positive. We're
yes, I'm
improving.
thanking, right. And so, if you will have had to probably, listen to the whole hour and a half in like 3 different sittings. That's certainly fine. So we're at the stage where who's the guy, right, is our final segment of the show. Who's the guy that you would trade for the fruit punch? You know, the guy you punch in the face and you
Of
give him the
course.
orange and you don't give him any Doritos. Like, who's your
So the
loser
guy
of the
that I'm
week?
stealing the fruit punch from this week, I'm like, I could so easily just say one of my top 3 again from last week, and I'm still including paracetamol. Fuck that guy. But I want to be a little bit different each time. So this time I'm going to go Ben Simmons for having a horrible return game. And long may it continue. I hope you fucking die, asshole. Because I know you're
So,
watching this. Fuck
yeah,
you.
he's definitely watching this and he's
For
heard
sure.
about us. And he's, frankly, he's interested in what we have to say about his game. And he's actually, I think he's calling me right now for advice on how he can improve his game.
He's
Um,
calling you right now because he's really sad about what I just said. He's actually watching
yes.
this live.
Yeah, this isn't even live. We're not even making it available live. We're recording it. We should edit shit out, but we're not going to because
We're not going to.
we don't fucking know how to do that right now. We don't have an editor. We're waiting for our editor to
Oh,
get
we
back from
will.
Israel. I know we're waiting for our editor to get back. You know what she's gonna do though? She's gonna take 95 minutes and whittle it down to like 4, and our podcasts are gonna be 4 minutes long of base.
And then she's
And
gonna
she,
put a
it,
shitty little pop song behind it.
right, and it's just gonna be fuck, 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 fuck in different ways with our
We
heads
should
like
have a fuck
bobbing and
compilation at some point.
no. Um, so my loser of the week. And I was debating this one, and I was struggling with this one because this week has not been a
It's been
great
pretty.
week. Uh, Mine is going to be the soccer club at Stuttgart
Still Frankfurt.
because
Still Frankfurt.
no, on purpose I said Stuttgart
Oh, okay.
because I didn't even realize they weren't in the Champions League and that they were not Frankfurt. And so my loser of the week, the team that deserves no fruit punch, and the team that I would trade for the fruit punch is Stuttgart.
All
And with
right.
that, we thank you
Nate,
for listening.
I need to say one thing.
Yeah.
On Saturday, when we put up our first episode, your loser of the week was the Phillies. And I just want to say, we fucking made it! Red October!
We did make it, but we're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs.
It looked
Just
bad,
keep that in mind.
but
And
like
then I
we
will have
made it.
them again as my loser of the week. We got to come up with a better like tagline for that. Like the punch of the week or something. Um,
Yeah, I think that's good
the
because
punch of the
Andre, you're
week.
getting the punch and you're punching them for it.
There
Punch
you
of the
go.
week.
This
I
is the
like
punch of
that.
the week. Thank
There
you.
you
I
go.
just thought of it.
Good shit.
It's it's the best thing I've said in 96 minutes.
All
Um,
right.
so with that, we thank you for listening, and we will be back with another episode of Trade You for the Fruit Punch soon.
Where we'll finally do our NBA award predictions.
Yes, I'm looking forward to those. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for